Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight we're going to be going into the dark side. This is started as a new segment, but then I realized that there are some stories that we could delve a little bit deeper into. And boy, I love a creepy, mysterious story. Don't we all? So today's story is about black-eyed children. What are black-eyed children? Well, it depends on who you ask. Ask a Catholic priest, and this phenomenon of black-eyed children just may be demons. Ask a ufologist or conspiracy theorist, and you may hear that these black-eyed children are actually extraterrestrial aliens. Ask a ghost hunter, and you may find that these mysterious childlike entities are actually ghosts of dead children. Friends, it is a great story. And lately, I've been thinking it's important for us here, right here and now, to get back to great stories. You know, I've spent a lot of time on different things for the show, but lately, more than ever, I've been thinking now is the time to get back to great stories. This story, I tried to research it as much as I could. I kept finding a lot of dead ends. But then I'd find some tantalizing new details that kept me interested in the story. So tonight, my friends, we are going to investigate the strange case of black-eyed children. Welcome to the dark side. Okay, so friends, just bear with me for one moment while I share my screen. I want to give some visual. I have some artist depictions of these black-eyed children that I wanted to share just as a visual aid. This is as described by some of the people who have had these experiences. Black-eyed children showing up at your door. Black-eyed children asking you for a ride or asking to get into your car. So friends, where to even begin? We can begin with these black-eyed children and the stories of them. They might knock on your door on a stormy night. You may see them approaching your car while you're waiting at a gas station or a convenience store. Often it may seem like they need help, or they just may stand still near you for no reason. By most reports, the children encountered do not initially look threatening, even though they want to get into your house or your car. In the various reports, people have reported that these children were incredibly persistent. And oftentimes in these stories and eyewitness accounts, people will suddenly notice something is just not right about these children. Their eyes are pure black. No pupil, no color in their eyes, no white iris. Completely and totally blacked out eyes. So it would appear from my research that black-eyed children or black-eyed kids is an urban legend of these children, ghostly, demonic, maybe alien creatures that resemble children somehow. Usually they're between the ages of 5 and 16. They're most usually described as creatures with pale skin and black eyes. And many of these reports of these children, so-called children, have been hitchhiking, panhandling, or at the doorsteps of residential homes. So, one second, friends. Seem to have lost my place. Yes, so besides having completely and totally blacked out eyes, these children typically appear normal. But sometimes their clothing may seem outdated or out of fashion, like they came from another time or another era. And in some extremely rare cases of these stories, people have reported encountering these children that had talon-like feet with claws on their feet. The truth is that nobody is really quite sure, however, in the research that I've done, where these creatures actually pop up or why. Some conspiracy theorists believe that the black-eyed children are aliens, right? Trying to make contact with Earth humans. And as I stated before, demonologists or Catholic priests believe that they are children of the devil. And if you do let them in, you are essentially allowing the devil to enter into your life. They oftentimes ask if they can enter a home to call their parents. But like I said, eventually the people involved in these stories realize something is very off with these children. And it seems like there is a sinister, creepy, and scary part to their encounters. Now, in my research, some people have claimed that these children and sightings of them have existed since the early 1980s. But most sources say that the legend of these black-eyed children really originated in posts written by a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel. He wrote about 2 alleged encounters that he had with these so-called black-eyed children. So the story really originates in Abilene, Texas, where he first saw 2 black-eyed children. They had pale skin and black eyes. He retold this story on a TV show, Monsters and Mysteries in America. I was going to share that, but given the amount of copyright strikes we've been getting, even when we cite fair use, I'm gonna skip doing that. And by the way, every time I get a copyright strike, we generally win after filing a dispute and citing fair use, but it's just one more step that I'd hope to avoid going forward whenever I can. So if we really need to share it, I will share it and do that, but I'd like to skip that step of paperwork. So many of these stories originate in the United States, but here is a very important part of this phenomenon. This is a worldwide phenomenon. There have been reports of black-eyed, creepy children all over the globe. So the phenomenon, if it is real, crosses countries, crosses ethnic, cultural, and religious boundaries. And I also couldn't help to think while researching this story that these stories of black-eyed children may have actually been the source for that huge string of Hollywood movies, horror movies, that featured creepy children as the evil, right, or horror in the movie, the antagonist. And while many of the stories being told are remarkably similar in many ways, each story often has unique elements. As was the case with one of our viewers who got me started researching this story again. I have an email here. She asked that I only share her first name, so Jennifer from Minneapolis, Minnesota, wrote me an email. Actually, it was several months ago now. I tried to get them to interview them, but they didn't really want to be on camera or tell their story publicly, but they're allowing me to share an email that they sent me telling of their story, which we will do for you. Jennifer writes, "Ever hear of the black-eyed children? Can you please do a story on this? In 2009, we had a big power failure Power was out for several days and nights. My home was lit by candles and camping lanterns. About 10 p.m. came a knock on the door. See if we can get our... There we go. So she says about 10 p.m. came a knock on the door. And, I remember when I read this, I thought, well, that's creepy, because when you have a power failure and suddenly there's a knock on the door at 10 p.m., you're already kind of creeped out in the dark, right? So she goes on to say, my home was lit by candles and camping lanterns. About 10 p.m., a knock came at the door. I opened the door to find two very young boys. One looked about 8 or 10. The other, bigger one, looked 13 or 14, I'd guess. I thought it was really odd that these two young boys were out alone during a big storm and a power failure. They said that they were lost and needed to use my phone. It was raining and cold outside, and they seemed underdressed for the weather. I let them in, and it was very dark at first, given the power failure. At first, I did not notice anything strange at all about them, other than they were out of place to be in the middle of a storm and power failure alone, underdressed for the terrible storm conditions and rain. No umbrella, etc. They looked cold and scared, and I kept asking about their parents, but neither answered me. The older boy just kept repeating, phone please, we need a phone. She goes on to say, I showed them to a phone. The older boy started dialing, and then I heard odd noises from the phone, and it was very loud, like a fax machine or computer modem noises and squawks, but very different. It seemed otherworldly, the noises that I heard coming from the phone. My house was very dimly lit due to the power failure, but as the older boy started using the phone, I brought one of the camping lanterns from the kitchen to the living room. The older boy seemed to be talking on the phone, but it seemed like Latin or some strange foreign language that I could not decipher. The younger boy stood nearby and stared at me intently. It was then when I realized both of these boys had completely black eyes. I mean completely and totally black eyes. Then I realized that they had bowed their head and almost sort of avoided direct eye contact up until this point. I was visibly startled, and the younger boys said, don't be afraid, we're just trying to find our way home. Well, that's creepy. Don't be afraid. We're just trying to find our way home. Suddenly, I started having a full-on panic attack. I had never before this event or after really had a panic attack like this. I also started to experience blurred vision, and I was seeing shadows dance around the room and other things that I can only describe as shadow people or dark ghosts. The younger boy seemed to notice that these shadows or apparitions in the room and said, don't worry, they can't hurt you. After some time talking, the older boy hung up the phone and said, I have directions to the rendezvous. Let's go. To the younger boy. Both boys looked at me. The younger boy started to say something, but the older boy cupped his hand over the younger boy's mouth and said, she doesn't need to know about that. Oh, that's creepy too. So the younger boy tried to tell her something, and the older black-eyed boy stopped him from telling her. She goes on to say, they walked towards my front door and I opened the door. I was so scared I kind of slammed the door behind them and locked it. Later that night, I had severe headaches, nausea, and nosebleeds, and another panic attack. The dancing shadows and apparitions in the room seemed to continue for several hours, but stopped later that night when the power came back on. I could not sleep. When I finally did sleep, I had nightmares about these black-eyed boys murdering me with a knife and the shadow apparitions chasing me down hallways. The nightmares continued for months, finally stopping when I had The nightmares continued for several months, finally stopping when I had counseling from a Catholic priest who also blessed my home. He believed these children were not children at all, but actually dark entities, dark spirits, or demons. She goes on to say that this was the strangest experience of my life. I've only told my closest friends and family about this experience, but I thought you may want to hear about it. I'd like to someday know the truth of what it is that I saw and experienced. I enjoy your show. Please keep searching for the truth behind these paranormal phenomenon. Well, thank you to our viewer. And yes, we will. We will continue to try to explore some of these strange phenomenon. So friends, I had something else to share about what may be the origins, of course, of this story. Or, I tried to find the oldest report of this that I could, and it seems to all come back to one person. So I'm going to cite fair use, and we are going to share this article. And this is from TexasHillCountry.com, a news site. Black-eyed kids, the chilling legend that began in Abilene. Every Halloween, Texas get ready for trick-or-treaters or stopping up on candy, setting out pumpkins and touching up the Halloween decorations. But if you've heard the stories of the terrifying folk phenomenon, you might want to be wary of certain trick-or-treaters, the black-eyed kids. Goes on to mention dozens of stories circulating, each with separate instances and not just occurring on Halloween. But all of them follow a very similar pattern. Yeah, and it's important. In my research of this phenomenon, it always seems like there's some common threads to every story, but each story does have some of their own unique elements. Kids with completely blacked out eyes arrive at someone's home or vehicle, knock on the door, and then insist upon being let inside. Anyone who encounters them almost immediately begins to feel an overwhelming sense of dread. Besides blacked out eyes, these children, usually between the ages of 6 and 16, typically appear normal. Sometimes their clothing is outdated, and sometimes they have clawed feet. While it may not be the earliest sighting of all time, the earliest reported sighting was in 1996 by Brian Bethel, a journalist from Abilene, Texas. In Bethel's report, he describes a late evening out in his vehicle. He had stopped in a parking lot near a movie theater to write a check. He was so absorbed in this that he didn't notice two young boys approach his car. He didn't notice until the older boy tapped on the driver's side window. Bethel rolled down his window and noted immediately a soul-racking fear, although he couldn't understand why. The older boy said that he and his brother wanted to catch a movie, but had forgotten their money at home. Could Bethel give them a ride? They assured him that it wouldn't take long, they were just two kids, and that they didn't have a gun. Oh, that's creepy. Bethel found the assurances unnerving and noted the last showing of the film they wanted to see had already started and would be nearly over by the time he could drive them anywhere and get back. In his recent recount of the incident, he stated that when he broke eye contact with these children, his fear became all-encompassing, and it wasn't until he broke eye contact that their eyes became completely blacked out. The older boy began to get frustrated when Bethel made excuses for not giving them a ride and said that they couldn't get into the car unless Bethel said it was okay. After that, Bethel tore out of the parking lot. To this day, he stands by his story. Yeah, so it's easy to believe Bethel's story. The internet have made growing new legends relatively easy with sites like Creepypasta and subreddit No Sleep, both full of stories about black-eyed kids. However, Bethel's story predates those stories. It wasn't until his story became more widely known that lots of folks began coming forward with their own black-eyed kids encounters. Some of them take place in Texas, where there's a couple of stories dating back to 1974 and 1950, and in other countries. They became such a popular phenomenon, whether real or purely web-based, that a movie came out about them in 2015. Supposedly, the kids were more likely to approach people who already know about them. So on Halloween, as trick-or-treaters wander by your doorways, keep an eye out for soulless black eyes and that feeling of dread. And if you should happen to encounter one of these otherworldly children, don't let them into your house. It could be costume contacts, but it's better to be safe than to be tricked. Yeah, so, and I'm going to find, I have the trailer for that film. So it's interesting that the impact, the cultural impact that this phenomenon has had. somebody has actually made a full-length movie about the phenomenon. And 1 second, friends. I'm going to mute my microphone and share this.
I need help.
Yeah, and I don't recall in any of the stories of black-eyed children them murdering or hurting anyone, other than the effects of dread and some people getting physically sick, nosebleeds, nausea. It's really an interesting phenomenon, this black-eyed children. I wanted to dig a little deeper, and I found actually there are stories in different continents. There are stories in Africa, there are stories in Europe, there are stories in Asia of these black-eyed children, and there are also stories right across the pond in England, and there's a paranormal investigator looking deeply into the phenomenon. I thought we could cite fair use. Let me put up my fair use banner here. Sorry, I haven't done that yet. 1 second. Yes. So we're citing fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the video we are sharing. And this, of course, is covered under fair use. So 1 second, friends. We're going to share an interview with the paranormal investigator who has been looking into the phenomenon of black-eyed children in his home country of England. There we go. So this is the black-eyed children of Cannock Chase, exclusive interview with Lee Brinkley.
So I'm here with esteemed paranormal investigator Lee Brinkley, and we're trying to get to the bottom of the truth of these black-eyed children. What can you tell us, Lee?
Well, as far as we know, this is a single entity that's been appearing on Cannock Chase since the early 1980s. It takes the form of a small girl, no older than 12, and she's been terrifying local residents over the past couple of months due to a wave of new sightings.
So then, you say 1980s is when this has been recorded. Is that the earliest date?
Yes, it's just over 30 years ago is the first recorded report, and although there were a number of sightings back then, things died down a bit until late 2012. December 2012, in fact, was the first time I received a new report from a member of the public, and interestingly, it was in fact the 21st of December 2012, which, if anybody's into doomsday prophecies, they'll know it was rather an important date.
What are your theories on the origin of these disturbing sightings?
Well, up until yesterday, I would have told you that I believe the black-eyed child to be some sort of ghost or demon. However, last night I received a sighting report from a local lady that blew my mind and effectively blew this case wide open. Now, I can't go into too many details about that at the moment because it's still early days. All I'm saying is don't believe everything you're reading in the newspapers and don't believe the things psychics are telling you on TV, because the truth about the black-eyed children of Cannock Chase could be more terrifying than even they imagine.
Would you say it's still safe for visitors to come and enjoy the chase?
Well, as far as we know, there have been no sightings where the black-eyed child directly caused harm to anyone. However, there have been a few reports that suggest it could be trying to lead people into dangerous situations, and for that reason I would just request that anybody who comes on Cannock Chase keep their wits about them, keep their eyes open and remain calm if they see the black-eyed child. Whatever you do, do not chase after it.
So then, Lee, over the past few weeks there's been a rise in UFO sightings. What can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, that's right. I've received 7 sightings myself over the past 2 weeks of strange beams of light coming down from the sky onto Cannock Chase, and these are from...
Yeah, and this is an important point. In several of the instances of reports of black-eyed children, I found increased reports of UFO sightings. So I don't know what that means. But I find it interesting that in several of the cases where black-eyed children reports start, surfacing, so do increased reports of UFOs, lights in the skies, etc. Always around the same dates.
Separate individuals. But I would say that from the evidence I've seen last night and again today from this lady with the new report, that the lights in the sky, UFO sightings, whatever they are, and the black-eyed child of Cannock Chase could be linked, but it's a bit too early to go into too many details about that. I should be able to reveal a little bit more in about 3 weeks' time.
What's going to happen in 3 weeks?
I don't know. I think it could be something big.
Okay, friends. So let me... Pragmagic says, ghosts temporarily possessed in dead children. So, yeah, maybe that's it. That's as good a theory as any that I have heard. So, also in my looking into these things, I found a lot of references in Asia of black-eyed children, black-eyed ghosts. It seems to be deeply connected in Asian culture that some ghosts are children. And usually they're pretty creepy children. I don't know if there's a connection or a significance there, but one of the things that I find so fascinating about these stories is that, like I said, they're so similar, and yet each has some unique sort of pieces that make them its own story. Rogue Status, this is definitely one of the more interesting subjects. Yeah, and also I reached out to a Catholic priest friend of mine, right? And I wanted to get, what do you think about this? And basically what he told me is that he believes that if people are actually seeing these things, then it's demonic influence and it's demonic presence. And the act of, you have to invite me in, is also, he mentioned, linked to stories of vampires. It's famous part of vampire mythology that they can't come into your home unless you welcome them in. They can't cross your threshold unless you welcome them in. And much like the stories of the vampire, this priest seemed to think that these are demonic entities. And no, if you're Christian, especially, a demonic entity cannot enter your home unless you give it permission. And I find the connection between the vampire mythology and these stories of black-eyed children to be an interesting one. I guess one theory that people have not discussed is they could be vampires, right? If vampires are a real thing. And as you know, I kind of think, well, that's kind of a stretch. These children could be vampires, but then I think, well, other people are saying that they're aliens. So it's no more a stretch to believe that they're vampires than it is to believe that they are aliens. And so this is my presentation, a short one for tonight. But I thought now I will give my full attention to the live chat. They got the black eyes in Children of the Damned, 1957, by John Wyndham. Sorry, it's fiction. Yeah, that's a creepy movie, right? Children of the Damned is definitely a creepy movie. Oh, I did not know that. V, that is written in the Hebrew Bible. Consent of entry. You know what? You're right. It is. It is definitely. So I suppose whether you're a Jew or a Christian, you have to welcome a demonic entity into your home before it is allowed to be in your home. And I guess the priest kind of said it goes the same for your soul or your heart. It's not so much about the domicile. You have to invite those dark forces in. They're not allowed to just invade. Interesting part of the story. Rogue status: black-eyed children equals vampires equal aliens. What would be the craziest explanation for this is that they're all of the above. I've also heard there's a blog that I found of someone researching this that claimed that they are all interdimensional beings, interdimensional entities, and they may be masquerading as children, but they're centuries-old souls. I did not know that. The sunlight thing started in 1925 when the studio filming Nosferatu couldn't afford the lighting. Never heard that. And Spooky gives some context from the United Kingdom, or England here. The Cannock Chase murders, also known as the A34 murders, were the murders of 3 young schoolgirls that occurred in Staffordshire, England during the 1960s. So did people think that they were seeing the ghosts of these young girls that were murdered? Could be. Children of the Damned was the lesser-known sequel of Village. I've never heard that before. I don't think. Oh, Village of the Damned, maybe. Yes, and Rogue Status says definitely all connected somehow, just different cultures telling the stories. Yeah, it could very well be. It's just through a different cultural lens. Rogue Status, I grew up Catholic, so I suppose through my cultural lens, I leaned heavily towards, these are demons, bro. These are demons. These are definitely demons. Don't let them in your house. Don't let demons in your car. It's not going to go well for you if you welcome demons into your life. But that's my cultural lens, Someone else, I'm sure, has a different lens and a different take on what these may be. I've heard, especially people that are sort of, ghost hunters that are on these like ghost hunter shows, claim that these black-eyed children are spirits of dead children. So that would be their cultural lens to explain the phenomenon, I suppose. Oh, Spooky said the reports only started right after those murders. It's village folklore. Yeah, I guess it definitely could be village folklore, right? And when something bad like that happens, the area, whether it's truly haunted or not, becomes haunted by the memory of that event, right? And people are influenced. If you're walking around at night in woods where 3 little girls got murdered, your eyes may begin to play tricks on you, and you may begin to think that you're seeing a ghostly little girl, right? Middle Eastern demigods made of smokeless fire discussed in the Quran. Yeah, I have a Quran, and I'm sure that I have that part highlighted. Anytime they mention the jinn or demigods or demons or angels, I highlighted it throughout the Quran that I had. I kind of wanted to see what the Muslims said about those entities, right? I thought it would be good to learn about what other cultures think about demons, angels. They call them the jinn. And we may do a whole story on the jinn, prag magic. That's another interest of mine. Okay, so you're right, Charles Unleashed. Village of the Damned was the blockbuster. This sequel had children with black eyes in 1958. I'm gonna watch both of them, Charles Unleashed. I'm definitely gonna watch both of them. Let's see. And peace pipes between us all. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's good that we have Spooky here to give us some background into the story of the black-eyed children that were being seen in that forest. Quite a good explanation may be that there was an actual 3 schoolgirls murdered in those woods, and people begin to project things into those woods, right? I've often thought that some of the phenomenon of ghosts or aliens or things, strange paranormal things people see, is truly consciousness based. And if enough people are focusing on a ghostly little girl in the woods, maybe that energy comes together and makes it real for a short time, right? You never know. It's a strange, strange world that we live in. Pragmagic, very fascinated with the jinn. Been studying them for a while this year. Yeah, I had a tear on them, Pragmagic, with between ceremonial magic, Solomon's temple, and Solomon having command of demons at his disposal, and the Quran references to the jinn. I got overloaded. Yeah. FGraph 72 says seems like hybrids. Could very well be something. Whatever it is, creating these entities or stories, though, it's sort of an enduring mystery, right? And while I was somewhat disappointed in doing my research that I couldn't just get to the bottom of it, right? It's a great mystery. You're not supposed to. Maybe sometimes, maybe just maybe, sometimes great mysteries are supposed to endure. Is this a real phenomenon? Is it aliens? Is it demons? Interdimensional beings? Spirits of murdered children? I don't know. I don't know. Rogue Status mentions another thing I'd like to cover. The Slender Man started online, then some kids murdered their friend. Yeah, trying to gain favor with an artificial internet construct that someone told stories about called the Slender Man. That's a great story, and we're going to cover it here in the future. It's actually on my list, Rogue Status, so thanks. Maybe you can come on as a guest for that one. Yes, Pragmagic and the Druge. Yes, I'm aware of them as well. Yeah, especially when I thought that I may someday be a priest, right? I was into like Bible study and reading other spiritual texts as much as I could, like Kabbalah, and the Quran became something to me that I have zero experience with this, and there may be a lot of knowledge in this book. So many people find it so important, right? And I've also read the Book of Mormon. Didn't find that one very convincing. Show me the gold plates. Oh, the angels took them back, right? Yeah. Never found Mormonism to be very impressive. And the problem is that in Christianity, there's something we've talked about here on the show before called the test of a prophet. And the test of the prophet goes like this. If a prophet gets one prediction wrong, they're not a prophet of God. And I'm sorry, Joseph Smith and Mormonism, it doesn't pass the test of a prophet. Not to most Christians who, believe in that edict of the test of the prophet. Terry Joyce is here and says, I have seen people's eyes go black for real. Well, that's creepy. I used to have contacts when I was in rock bands, and they were like cat eye contacts. And it was funny, I used to forget that I had them in, and then we'd like go through a bridge toll or something. I'd be driving the band van, and people would like jump. I'm in like crazy makeup and cat eyes, right? Pragmagic says, I'm a fan of folklorific unified field theory, that no matter the focus or cultural event, stories transcend. Yeah. Charles Unleashed is saying perfectly true. The myth about vampires and sunlight was started to explain why the film was so badly lit. That's genius. So if I go to make a film and I don't have certain equipment, I'm just going to make up a story to explain away why my footage is so dark and shitty, right? But Nosferatu, look, that has stood the test of time. It's like an iconic movie. And I got to tell you, I hate silent movies. I'm not a fan. Never been a fan of silent movies. Never been a fan of reading the movie. I hate that. But I sat through Nosferatu a bunch of different times in my life, maybe 4 or 5, right? Because it's just, I think it's like the root of so many great vampire movies. All started with that one. So you got to watch it if you're interested in vampires and vampire movies. And of course I am. I even watched, the glittery vampires. That's how much I like vampire stories. That one didn't find very appealing. Vampires that glitter in the light. No. But I watched it too, right? Big fan of Underworld. I like that kind of vampire. And Blade I liked as well. Yeah, but it all started with Nosferatu. That's where it all starts, friends. Every great vampire movie story started with Nosferatu. V says, my eyes are so dark when I'm angry and my pupils dilate, they look totally black. Well, that's got to be scary for your husband. My wife doesn't need any help to scare me. She's scary enough without black eyes. Okay, V? Rostad is Lost Boys, the best vampire movie ever. Except for the bunny vampire teeth. They put the fangs like they're supposed to be here. They put the fangs like here in Lost Boys. I think, right? Didn't look right. Okay, so sunlight as fatal wasn't directly attributed to Bram Stoker's Dracula, just to mention that Harker never saw Dracula in the daylight. Yeah, maybe that's where the legend started, that vampires... It makes sense, though, if you're a creature of the night and a dark creature, that sunlight would hurt you, or you can't go into sunlight, right? I guess I always found vampire mythos kind of fascinating, because who wouldn't want to live forever? And like me, I'd figure out finding some pig blood so I wouldn't have to be killing people, right? And I'd get some sunblock. I'd be okay with living forever in the dark. I'm a night kind of a guy, pragmatic. Prefer the night, always have. So friends, we're coming up on the 45-minute mark. We're not going to go much further here. Do I want to talk about this? Yes, I'm going to talk about this. So there's one other piece of business, I guess, that I just want to make people aware of, because it may affect the show going forward. Let's see. Okay, some of you are aware that I did this comedy parody of David Wilcock and Corey Goode. Their television show on Gaia was called Cosmic Disclosure. I did mine with clowns, with those guys speaking, and I called it Comic Disclosure. And that video is on our channel here. It's a parody. It's a comedic parody of David Wilcock and Corey Goode telling stories that I believe are fake, about a secret space program and time traveling and being age regressed. And I called it 20 and Back While Smoking Crack. Because the story that we were parodying in that is Corey Goode's story of going into space for 20 years, right? Doing all this stuff, fighting reptilian aliens and saving planet Earth and becoming Earth's ambassador, right? In a Galactic Federation Council. All those stories happened in the 20 years he was in space, and then he was age regressed back to right before he left. And I'm sorry, I find that comical, especially with no evidentiary support. I find it funny. I find it worthy of mockery that someone would go and tell this story and claim that it's 100% true and real story. So I made fun of it. And we live in the United States of America where it could be argued, but I won't. We still have a First Amendment here. And I'm a strong supporter of the First Amendment, especially when it comes to artistic creations. If anybody wants to parody my show, go for it. Go for it. I will laugh about it. I will pat you on the back and say, good job making fun of me. Because if you can't make fun of me, who can you make fun of, right? Great. Got trolls on the internet calling me Kylo constantly. I laugh at it. You know what? Adam Driver's a good-looking guy. I'm okay. Call me Kylo all you want, bro. Doesn't bother me. So we get to this situation where one of these people telling fantastical stories for 5 years on the internet and various performance venues, television shows, radio programs, doesn't like people making fun of him. And he's trademarked terms like 20 and back and is trying to say nobody can use the term 20 and back. And I just want to say, I did not use the term 20 and back. I used the term 20 and back while smoking crack. Because if you believe this guy's stories, you probably are smoking crack. Okay? I did not use, again, for legal clarification, we did not use the term 20 and back. We used the term 20 and back while smoking crack. And you can sample that video. It's here on our channel. Now, here's where the problem comes in. There's a problem now. This is a post from Jay Widener's Facebook. And by the way, I don't really know Jay Widener. Okay? I know of him, right? I think I've talked to him on the phone once. So there's no collusion or colluded effort. There's no vast criminal conspiracy or cyber stalking campaign being orchestrated between me and anybody. And by the way, the purpose of my comic disclosure video was satire, was comedy, was parody. You know, like Weird Al Yankovic, it's funny. He's allowed to use the Beat It music and call it Eat It because it's a parody. This is covered under fair use, under all laws that I was able to find, right? So Jay Widener writes, Corey Goode wrote a letter to the federal court in his lawsuit describing my anti-Corey statements here on this page. Here's an excerpt. Page 2 of the excerpt of this declaration is a screenshot of a post Widener created and publicly displayed on his Facebook page using my claims 20 and back with the phrase while smoking crack. And this is Jay Widener's words, not mine. He says here Corey Goode is clearly lying in the court documents. All one has to do is click on the link to see that I had zero to do with creating this video. And to be clear, Jay Widener had nothing to do with me creating that video, right? That's 100% created by Stephen Cambion. He writes that. My name is not associated with it anyway with the video. He says all I did was link to it. Yeah, he shared my video. And then he goes on to say, yeah, Corey Goode signed a letter and placed it in evidence just last week. Why would he say something that is this easily refuted? So I got the court documents, and Corey Goode is claiming that Jay Widener, I think, I'm not a lawyer, okay? We haven't had legal counsel look at this stuff yet, but we will. I believe in this court document that I got a hold of today that Mr. Goode is implying that Jay Widener somehow infringed on his trademark of the term 20 and back by sharing my video, which is 20 and back while smoking crack. Okay? So again, just to be clear, I, in my video, did not use the term 20 and back. I used the title 20 and back while smoking crack. It's a very important distinction. It's a very important difference, okay? Here's Corey Goode's 20 and back. Here's mine, 20 and back while smoking crack. Okay? It's not the same thing. It won't hold up. And it's parody. Okay? It's a joke. That video is a comedic joke. It's me making fun of the ridiculousness of a man who would stand up in front of an audience and tell people that he time traveled and fought reptile aliens in space and was a member of a galactic council. And out of everybody on Earth, he was picked to be the ambassador to Earth. It's me making fun of the ridiculousness of that guy doing that, especially for 5 years, and has presented zero evidentiary support of his claims. I gotta believe that this is the United States of America, and I should be allowed to do that. But here's the problem. Here's the big problem. It doesn't have to be legally correct for him to file suit, right? He can make any claims he wants. That's another part of this great country. You can sue anybody for anything. And the fact that I even have to consider, do I want to continue that series because it may create legal problems for me, is ridiculousness. That's the world that we live in now. That some literal Buck Rogers space hero guy, he's claiming to be Buck Rogers, basically. That's the gist of his story, basically. He's Buck Rogers, he time travels, and he fights aliens in space, right? And he knows all about the Earth's secret space program, right? And he time traveled right back to right before he left, after he was done having his space adventures. He's Buck Rogers. I'm allowed to make fun of a guy who is claiming basically to be Buck Rogers, okay? Or Flash Gordon. But it's real. It's all real. All my stories are my experiences. It's real. Okay, I'm allowed to critique that. I'm allowed to say, you have no evidence, sir, for any of your claims, only your word. And how good is the word of this man? What is his moral character like? Can we look into his background and after having done so, become sufficiently informed enough about some of the things that he has done in his life? Is it a wild assumption that I would do some research into that man's moral character and background and things he's been involved with, and then say, I don't find him to be a credible person that should be believed when he tells these fantastical space adventure stories? Is it so crazy that I would do that? Of course it's not. Should I be allowed to make fun of the ridiculousness of a guy running around on the internet making these claims? Of course I should. This, again, just to be clear, is not an attempt to harm or defame that person or cyberstalk them or harass them. It's certainly not an attempt to interfere with their business, right? This is America. I think your stories are crazy and ridiculous, and I'm going to make fun of them if I want to, if I choose to do so. And I got to tell you, nobody's going to stop me from doing that. So it is what it is. Now, somehow, we're getting dragged into this legal nightmare that many are experiencing. After all, how many people is Mr. Good suing right now? Is it 11 or 12? I've lost count, right? And you know, it's just one of those things you have to ask yourself, are all those people the problem that are getting sued, or is this guy the problem? I think you guys know what I think. And so here's all I'm going to say on the subject. If I want to continue making that series, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to be intimidated, threatened, harassed, or, scared, right? By frivolous lawsuits or things like that. I just can't live my life that way. I can't dedicate the brain space to worry, right? About things like that. So I say, c'est la vie. Whatever will be, will be. People like my work. People like the comedic parodies that I produce. And I'm going to continue to do so. And that's where we're at, friends. All right, back to the live chat. Let me do this. I recently figured out that I can actually share the live chat on my screen. Just give me a moment, friends, while I do that. Yeah, and I also just wanted to mention that I appreciate people that are concerned when they heard this drama going on and reached out to me, and I appreciate that, but I think it's handled, like it's handled as well as it's going to be handled, I suppose, for now, But this also goes to the chilling effect that frivolous lawsuits have. This is exactly what Mr. Good wants to do. He wants to intimidate people into just leaving him tell his crazy stories, and nobody's allowed to comment on them, right? Nobody's allowed to say anything. Just let him keep going. For what? Another 5 years? Is he going to go off telling these crazy, wackadoo, fake science fiction stories for another 5 years, no job, and collecting money from our community for another 5 years? Is that okay? I don't know. But people should be allowed to comment, right? People should be allowed to chime in. And for sure, people should be allowed to create comedic parodies making fun of things worthy of making fun of. All right, 1 second, friends. So we're gonna share the live chat up on the screen here, and yeah, I appreciate some of the comments. Pragmagic says, I saw the Jay Widener post. CG just ruined his whole case. Probably not. He could say it was an error of his attorney. There's all kinds of ways to keep this. I believe that it's basically a scam. You know? Keep collecting legal funds so you can keep suing people. And have love and light. Right? And all these people that are contributing to his legal fund so that he can sue people, right? Or intimidate people like me, who is just making a funny video. I made a funny video, okay? He may not think it's funny, Pragmagic. I don't think he thinks it's funny. And I don't think David Wilcock thinks it's funny. But most other people familiar with those two do think it's funny. And I should be allowed to do that without worry or concern of this kind of drama, right? Or, you know, some kind of negative financial consequences for simply expressing my First Amendment rights, right? And my beliefs. What am I expressing? I'm expressing my belief that that guy's stories are wackadoo nonsense fiction, okay? I'm allowed to express my belief about that. He doesn't have to like that I do that, but he has to allow me that, right? Just as I would allow anybody else. You can critique me all you want. People do it all the time. People are saying nasty stuff in the comments. Good. It's engagement, you know? I'm glad that you were passionate enough about something I said or something I did to chime in. Bring it. Yes, Pragmagic, was it because the audio of them talking wasn't that Jay's copyright? I could be wrong, but it's still a parody. No, actually, the people that own the copyright to that audio is Gaia Incorporated. So, you know, and Gaia Incorporated hasn't tried to sue me for using their audio. And I don't believe they will. Not big fans of those two guys after, you know, the history that they have. So there's no reason for our video to be cited in a federal lawsuit. And there's also no reason for him to claim that Mr. Widener is somehow violating his trademarks by sharing a video that I made. And again, important distinction here, I did not use the term 20 and back. I used the term 20 and back while smoking crack. And that, my friends, is significantly different. Different enough that I think a judge would say that's not the same term. It's not the same term. 20 and back while smoking crack. Okay? It is what it is. It is what it is, friends. Oop, I'm sorry. Charles Unleashed says, doesn't matter, Stephen. I even tag my stuff as satire parody, but some people still think I'm really Charles. Yeah, I think you're really Charles. I think you are. I think you're Charles pretending to be Charles, having a goof on everybody that doesn't believe that you're the real Charles. That's my conspiracy theory about Charles Unleashed, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, look at that, V. Adam Driver is a fox. See? So... But people listen, V, when they call me Kylo, I think they're doing it like insultingly. Like, okay, Kylo, you look just like Kylo Ren. Okay, look, there's a woman who said Adam Driver is a fox. So maybe it's not such an insult when people call me Kylo. I'll take it as a compliment. Good looking guy. And he's sure getting a lot of roles, like leading man roles lately. So good for him. Good for Adam Driver. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Okay, there's Dark Ravens, who is my nephew, believe it or not. Says Mr. Good for Nothing has no legal case. The problem is that he can sue you, but because he has no legal standing, the judge will more than likely throw it out. Yeah, I agree with you. And V says, right on, Stephen, don't bow to intimidation noise. I believe listen, I could be wrong, but I believe that he specifically did that so that I would know, look, I'm putting your video in federal court as evidence. You better not make any more. That's my interpretation. Now, my interpretation may be incorrect, okay? But the perception of this as a sort of tactic of legal threat or intimidation is there, right? And what am I supposed to do? Just throw the First Amendment in the trash and say, well, I'd like to make fun of this. You know, I feel strongly that somebody should make fun of this, but I can't because I'm getting legally threatened, intimidated, and harassed into silence. No. I don't think so. That's just how I am. Like, okay, you know, and like I said, c'est la vie. What happens is going to happen, and I'll cross the bridges when I cross them. He cited the 20 and back while smoking crack about... Jay Widener shared my video, and he cited Jay Widener sharing my video as evidence in a federal lawsuit that Mr. Widener is somehow violating his trademarks or something. Again, I'm not a lawyer. We still have to get one to look over the court filings that I have. And, you know, that's another thing. You just drag me down in it, you know? That's another tactic of frivolous lawsuits. They want to wear you out, tire you out, make you so tired of dealing with them that you just will settle. Just get them out of your life, whatever it costs. No, I'm not a settle kind of guy. I never have been, never will be. No. Especially when I feel very strongly about something that I think is a basic fundamental human principle like freedom of speech. Yeah, he would be a fool for his attorney to allow him to try to connect you to Jay. So dumb. It is dumb, but, and you know, like, this is where we're at. Like, anything can happen. Anybody can sue you for any reason, right? And the court has to hear it. And the courts are so backlogged right now that if somebody were to, you know, pursue something like that, it could be literally 5 years you'll be dealing with that. You know? And again, this is why frivolous lawsuits work for some people. Look what it did for Scientology. They were able to sue every critic and outspoken, you know, whistleblower about their organization. They were able to sue every one of those people into oblivion for decades and shut every one of their critics up. It's just lately now that they're no longer able to do that. No longer able to do that. Rogue Status says, you nailed it. The point isn't to win the case, it's to intimidate and financially inconvenience his detractors, make life hard for people who draw the line on his BS. Yes, and Avanoma, who I believe is new. If you are welcome, you are most welcome. To the statement, freedom ends, truth begins. Let's not mention the legal backlog. Yeah, I believe that you know, these cases started like more than a year ago that he started filing against his detractors, his critics, and others, business partners, and it's nowhere near resolution yet, right? The judge hasn't even like ruled on all the motions. They didn't get to discovery. They're not getting to a trial anytime soon. It could drag on for literally years. Sounds like old daytime DV down the rabbit hole. Yeah, probably does. Good show piece. Thank you. You are most welcome, Avanoma. Please do subscribe and visit us again. Oh, and there's one more, I suppose, bit of show business. Let me see. Everybody wants me to have a schedule. Everybody has asked, why can't you just do a show at a certain time? And, you know, yeah. I have a real hard time doing that. But I'm trying this week. So this week is 10 p.m. 10 p.m. showtime, right? And I told the Patreon people I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for sure. But if tomorrow I find a new show topic that I think that I can slap together in a few hours and get ready for you guys, we will do that. The point is, I can't just do a show 5 or 6 times a week because, there has to be good material there. I don't want to just, those unplanned shows are sometimes fun, but it's flying by the seat of your pants, and I don't want to do that more than I have to. So I'm doing 3 shows a week, or if I have more material, I'll do a few more. I can definitely do 3 good shows a week. I just don't want to stretch myself too thin. These things take time to look into and research when we're going to present a show. The better shows to me are the ones where I actually do some digging and can tell a compelling story. So we're going to be focused on that. But 10 p.m. Here we are at 10 p.m. And a lot of people have said different things about me doing the show at 10 p.m. Most people are very supportive. It's a good time. We usually get a pretty good crowd of people. At that when I start the show at 10 p.m. So that's where we're ending up. And also, I have children. Their bedtime is 9. It's really 10. But, so that ought to help. There'll be at least bath time, bedtime, winding down for the night when I start the shows at this time. I think it's a good time slot. And so, like I said, we're going to 3 or more shows a week. There's a Stephen Cambion cult. Please indulge me. Yes, and content matters. It sure does. Let's crowdfund an equally ridiculous countersuit. Hit him right back. Yeah. I don't know. I don't like legal problems. I don't like legal hassles. Most people don't. That's why they're effective at shutting up people's critics, right? When some have commented, you may have noticed I went back to the old set. That was just for tonight because creepy subject, creepy show, darker, creepier set seemed appropriate. That, and I really am having a hard time adjusting to it being so bright. But I'm gonna try to adjust. Yeah, Renee Miss Genocide says, you have a family, work, and research takes a lot of time. Yeah, it does. It takes time to, yeah. That's a lot, Stephen. With family, band, everything, you make me feel stupid lazy. Well, most people can't do what I do, Pragmagic, because I'm an alien. Okay? Maybe you haven't heard. I'm kind of like Elon Musk. Like, the wheels never stop turning, Pragmagic. They just go and go and go. And the only time that my mind quiets down is when I have some difficult thing that I gotta accomplish. So I try to load myself up. It keeps the voices in my head, to a minimum. Oh, and we've got trolls. You vermin feasting on a being of light like he is. A rotten corpse will get cleansed one way or another. Oh my goodness. Really? What? Listen, I'll engage with you if you're respectful, Mr. SBA Truth, SBA Savior. He thinks Corey Good is the savior. Okay. How is he a being of light by suing people? Like suing a single mother for millions of dollars, right? A single mother that is probably mentally disabled. He's suing them for millions of dollars. Does that sound like a being of light to you? Right? Or suing somebody, or suing other people who said that his Buck Rogers science fiction fantasy stories are not real? A public apology in the following hours may save you. Okay. Good luck waiting for that, bro. No, I stand by everything that I said, and you know what? Come in here with your real name, right? Like a man. Or, for all I know, that's Corey Good trolling me, right? He watches every one of my shows anyway, right? Is it a stretch to think we've We've seen his prolific use of sock puppet accounts to defend his position before, right? Look, people should be happy that I'm talking about that guy at all. He's not worth talking about, right? So any energy given to him, he should thank people for. He's irrelevant. He's a clown, right? His so-called information has zero value to the world except to line his pockets with money from stupid people. Okay? So that's where we're at. Look at this. This is great. This is not about Corey. It's about the future of humanity. Sometimes we need to use earthly means to resolve earthly matters the right way. What does that mean? That means it's okay to sue a single mother who's probably got mental problems for $5 million? Because that's what a being of light would do. That's what, being more of service to others than of self is, right? The hypocritical nature of this guy is a joke. I'm love and light, but I'm going to sue a mentally challenged single mother for $5 million because she said things I didn't like about me on the internet. It's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, this chat is recorded and threats of your kind only make Mr. Cambion's defense. Yeah, exactly. And this would not be the first time that this guy has sent a troll army against somebody talking smack about him, right? Next year, some of you will be crying tears of joy, sadness, and regret. Choose wisely. Look, you know what's going to happen next year? Nothing. Nothing. Right? Spooky says, I'll be crying. You're still clinging onto the good Lord. Yeah. This is crazy. And we don't often get trolls in here, so I'm kind of honored. I'm important enough that, they have to send somebody to say something nice about the clown that we're talking about, right? But I don't mind that. We're not an echo chamber here. People are free to. If that person truly believes that this Buck Rogers guy is Earth's galactic savior, good for you, bro. Good for you. I hope that works out for you, right? I hope that your galactic ambassador savior saves Earth, right? Good for you. Yeah. So I guess, friends, I don't really have anything else for tonight. We're gonna call it a night. I've got some other things that I've got to do. We will definitely be back Wednesday for another show at 10 p.m. But maybe tomorrow. It depends on if I can get something together. But I feel like I'm juggling because it's like, well, I have a good show that I've gotten together for Wednesday, and I've got a good show that I've gotten together for Friday. Can I risk trying to get another two together in a short time? Yeah. Yeah. Please donate. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to start my own legal defense fund. I guess I need to, right? Yeah, and I'm more and more convinced. I'm not sharing anything else that you say because you're basically doxing someone in my live chat right now. Or partially. First name and last name, first initial. SBA is for real, though. Get a hug. Corey is not your savior. It's amazing to me. Freedom to dissent is true freedom. Yeah. Yeah, and SBA Truth, you can go watch my video. It's called 20 and Back While Smoking Crack, which is nothing like 20 and Back, okay? It's a different term. There's Corey Goods, what is it, trademark? Did he trademark the term 20 and Back and nobody else is allowed to say that or he could sue them, right? Okay, I didn't use the term 20 and back. I used the term 20 and back while smoking crack. It's an important difference, right? It's a transformative work, all right? My video is not about 20 and back. It's about 20 and back while smoking crack. Yeah, and I agree with you, Spooky. You never know. You never know. Charles Unleashed, I know your secret, Corey, just for men. Yeah, maybe. So, yeah, what is with his hair, bro? V says feed the trolls. Absolutely. We need more of them. It's engagement. Every angry thing they type in that live chat helps the algorithm with helping us. It loves the algorithm, just loves engagement. You can say all the nasty stuff you want to in the comments. By the way, we'll check in. Well, let me just check, make sure. Yeah, we've made it through an entire broadcast without one downvote so far, and I'm almost disappointed. Yeah, and I'm gonna remind everybody, please do like, comment, and share, and smash that like button. It really does help raise the show in the search algorithms and help more people to find us here. It really, really does help. The other way you can help is we have a Patreon, which is $1 a month or more. It's sort of a backstage pass. Every month we do an audio journal. Well, actually, it's a video journal now about the show. What's going on behind the scenes, future plans for the show, things I'm working on. You also get access as a Patreon supporter to most of what I do early. So if I create something new, I put it on Patreon, usually a few days or a day before it becomes public part of the show. It's a backstage pass, and that's $1 a month or more. And we have a PayPal donate button. Still waiting on the super chats. Everybody keeps asking me. Still waiting. Don't know how long that's going to take. Yeah, SBA Savior is just baiting the chat so that he can watch his truly favorite YouTube broadcaster for a little bit longer. Come on, admit it. Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, Dark Ravens, look, if this guy really was a space hero, right, and he's here to save Earth and all this crazy, right, would he have time to worry about me, a guy who's doing a show on the internet that almost nobody watches, right? Shouldn't he be feeding all the starving humans of planet Earth if he's the galactic savior and love and light and all that, right? Would he have time to worry about me, right? We have a show that almost nobody watches. Why would he bother to spend time dealing with me if his stories were true? He could be out there having space adventures with space hotties, right? Alien chicks are hot, right? Star Trek alien chicks, they always make them kind of hot. Yeah, the new Marshall Applewhite, beware the new Hale-Bopp Comet, Corey followers. It looked like he was going apocalyptic for a little while there. Pragmagic, it really did. Okay, yeah, we're wrapping things up here. So, FGraph72, thank you for joining us once again. It's good to see you back here in the live chat. He sent in Sarah Adams to do his dirty work. Maybe. You never know. You never know. Those two would get along great together, both charging people money for stuff that is worth absolutely nothing. Right? And Charles Unleashed, of course, he's the best super soldier that ever existed. Do something about it. Dark Ravens, I've probably done more time traveling in my sleep than Mr. Good has done in real life. And yes, Spooky, I believe you're right. I've noticed a pattern there. He goes apocalyptic almost yearly. It's a money-making model. Yeah, that's how he keeps the donation rolling in. The apocalypse may be coming, and I can tell you how to survive it for just this much money, right? Take my latest course for $300 or $700. Yeah, it's so interesting to believe we're in a cult. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're the guys in a cult. Yeah. Dark Raven says Sarah's looking to be a bigger joke than Corey is. Yeah, I think they're both worthy of mockery. For those that don't know, people are referencing Sarah R. Adams, a fake psychic, fake intuitive healer that we sort of busted here on our show. I started testing her fake superpowers, and I sent in a fake terminal patient, and she was giving them the business. She was helping them heal their terminal cancer. But what she didn't know is that the person I sent her was completely healthy, did not have cancer at all. She fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, we busted her pretty good. And she's selling people courses where she'll teach people how to open stargates. So I famously sort of challenged her, show us a stargate, Sarah. She won't. But she'll keep selling that course to teach people to open stargates, even though she can't show us herself opening a stargate. This world that I somehow find myself in is just that ridiculous. It's that ridiculous. People could sell courses on how to open stargates, and then me, when I say, okay, you're selling a course for hundreds of dollars about how to open stargates. So could you show us you opening a stargate? Right? I asked that question. It's a valid question. You're selling a course on how to open stargates. I asked, can you show us you opening a stargate? To prove you're qualified to take all this money to teach people to open stargates, and suddenly I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy because I asked that question. Okay, you don't want to show us the stargate? She won't show us her opening a stargate, but she's still selling a course for hundreds and hundreds of dollars on her website, teaching people how to open stargates. That's how crazy the world has gotten. And somehow, I've said this so many different times, they all operate in these gray areas of the law. Is that consumer fraud? I think so. I think if she can't prove she can open stargates and she's taking money from people claiming she's going to teach them to open stargates, that's consumer fraud. That's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a law enforcement officer. But somehow these people get away with this. They just get away with it, right? Oftentimes it comes down to some of these fake psychics and fake healers, new age gurus, they get away with it for years until they hit the wrong victim, right? Like maybe they hit somebody whose father is in law enforcement or something like that. And then suddenly karma swings the other way, right? Yeah, and Pragmagic, very good point. Notice how no one blocked the naysayers. That's the difference. We talk. Yeah, and everybody's welcome here. If Sarah R. Adams believers want to come in our live chat and debate with us about whether she really can open stargates or not, I'll talk to them. I'll let them have a conversation here. I would like that. Explain to me why she's not ripping people off, claiming that she's going to teach people to open stargates. Explain that to me. Please. You see, if we have the dialogue with the other side, we may reach some kind of more greater understanding to both sides. So I'm fine with dialogue and reaching across the aisle and going, let's talk about this. The problem is they don't want to talk about it. And largely I think that's because they know it's fraud. They know that everybody claiming to have superpowers is fake and can't prove any of their superpowers, right? And then they'll look ridiculous trying to debate someone about that. So they don't want to do it. They don't want to be here and do that. Charles Unleashed asked, does she have a small entertainment disclaimer hidden in a small corner? Not to my knowledge, but I believe she may have added one after our expose exposing her as a complete and total fraud and a fake. Right? Dark Raven says, it's in the corner for being a bad disclaimer. Yeah. Yeah. Many of these people may be adding that sort of disclaimer. Yes, it disgusts me that she tells people she can communicate with nonverbal kids. She can also communicate with people's pets. And if your cat is sick, don't call a veterinarian, call her, because she could use her superpowers to heal your cat. That, I believe, is also fraud. Yeah, but it's, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not liberal enough. Maybe I'm not welcoming enough to other, paradigms, other ideas of what reality is. I'm sorry. You can't use your superpowers to heal people's pets. So you shouldn't be taking money to do exactly that. That's to me, that's fraud. Yes, and I want to thank Carl Casey for the background music for tonight's show. Often forget to credit him or thank him, and being a musician myself, that's a mortal sin. So the excellent background music, the bumper music, the intro music, all that, I believe all of that, all the music on tonight's show, except for when we shared that one video, is Carl Casey. Thank you very much, Mr. Casey. He writes great music, so I don't have to. and it fits the show and what I wanted, and so, there we have it. Pragmatic says, V, that makes me so mad. Anytime they exploit disabilities, sick full stop, terribly exploitive to the parents. I hate it. Yeah, she claimed that she could telepathically communicate with my son who can't speak. He's nonverbal autistic. She claimed on many different occasions when I spoke to her before we did the turn. Once I let her know, look, I sent you a fake cancer patient. Your superpowers are fake. Then she shut off and she stopped making these claims. But before that, she was very friendly with me and like, oh, I can help you with your son. He wants to talk to you. I can be the medium between the two of you, and I can help you communicate with your son who can't talk. Really, sounds great to me. I'd love to know what my son thinks, right? I'd love to know what my son feels. And preying on that, to me, is unforgivable. It's absolutely unforgivable that a fake psychic would prey on someone's vulnerabilities, their weaknesses, like that, in order to make some money, right? And hey, I'm not one of her California clients that had a ton of money, so she, but if I had a ton of money and I truly believe that she could do what she said, which is communicate to my nonverbal autistic son and then tell me what he's saying, thinking, feeling, I would pay money for that if it was genuine and real, but it's not. And we sort of busted her on that too. She was completely wrong about many different things concerning my son. But the fact that she would even use my autistic, disabled son to get to me, to pull my heartstrings, right, is deplorable to me. It's absolutely disgusted me that she did that. That's when I decided, I wasn't going to be a nice guy. Then I said, I'm sending her a fake cancer patient, and we'll see how her superpowers work out for her, right? She's a psychic. She's an intuitive healer. She can see people's sicknesses from a distance. She should know that I'm sending her a fake cancer patient. And she didn't. So there you have it, Well, friends, we are... I want to thank everybody. Tonight has been a little bit of a journey. We've covered the subject I wanted to cover, and we got some show business out of the way. Sort of did a recap, too, then, on fake psychic extraordinaire Sarah R. Adams. Look her up or watch our previous videos. We did a whole series of videos on her, 3, actually called The Strange Case of Sarah Adams, parts 1, 2, and 3. It's a fun ride. If you want to see somebody bust a fake psychic badly, it's a good series. Okay. So, friends, I always say this. You hear me say this time and time again. I'm always happy when there's an audience. I'm glad that you could be a part of mine tonight. 1 second, friends. Yeah, so tonight was the first in what I hope will be a continuing sort of theme here. Tonight we went to the dark side and discussed this legend of the creepy children. We may do a part 2 once I've fully completed a deep dive. I've got some various sources from other countries that I thought may be good to explore. But until we do, this will have to do for now, friends. Again, thank you for being in the audience tonight. I'm glad that you could be here. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of you who have been so supportive about continuing on with the show. I say upward and onward. I've got a lot of great things planned. I'm glad that you could be here tonight, and I hope you're going to be here for some of the cool shows that I have planned going forward. Until then, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this ride on the dark side with you, my friends. Good night, and God bless all of you.